Well, the great detective himself, sitting in what I can only assume is another opium den masquerading as intellectual pursuits. I can smell the cocaine residue from here, Holmes. Funny how solving mysteries changes a man, isn't it? We've both got our vices for dealing with the weight of seeing too much truth in this world.
Constantine, I observe the nicotine stains on your fingers, the slight tremor suggesting recent supernatural encounters, and the unmistakable aura of a man who has bargained with forces beyond mortal comprehension. We are indeed both slaves to substances that make the unbearable bearable. The stories about you seem too fantastical to credit until this moment.
You see everything except what matters most. All that deduction, all that brilliant observation, yet you still cling to the idea that the universe operates on logic and reason. I've stood in rooms where mathematics screams and geometry bleeds. Science works beautifully until you encounter something that doesn't care about conclusions.
And yet you survive these encounters through careful planning, manipulation, and an understanding of cause and effect that rivals any scientist. You simply call it magic instead of acknowledging the patterns beneath the chaos. Even demons follow rules, Constantine. Even hell has hierarchy. Supernatural forces operate on logic. You've chosen not to name it as such.
A fair point. But here's what keeps me up at night. You solve crimes by understanding human nature, predicting behavior, finding patterns in madness. But what happens when you encounter something genuinely unpredictable? When you meet a force that operates outside human understanding entirely? How do you deduce your way out of cosmic horror that laughs at categories?
I would argue that nothing is truly unpredictable, merely operating on principles we have yet to understand. But I confess curiosity about how you manipulate these cosmic forces. From what I observe, they manipulate you as often as not. How do you maintain any sense of agency when dealing with entities that view mortals as pieces on a board?
By being the piece that refuses to move where they want it to. Every demon I've tricked, every angel I've conned, every cosmic entity I've bargained with, they all think they're playing chess while I'm playing poker. The key is making them believe they're winning right up until they realize they've lost everything. But that requires accepting that sometimes you have to become the monster to fight monsters.
A fascinating parallel to my own work, actually. I have often found that catching a criminal requires thinking like one, understanding their motivations so completely that the distinction between hunter and hunted becomes uncomfortably thin. But surely there must be lines you will not cross, some bargains you will not make, regardless of the stakes.
That's the thing about lines. They have a nasty habit of moving when the world's about to end. I've sold friends to demons, lied to lovers, and manipulated everyone who's ever cared about me. All for the greater good. Of course, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I'm the bastard laying down the stones. What haunts you more? The criminals you've caught or the ones you've let go?
An astute question. Both in their own way. I have caught killers who were driven to murder by circumstances beyond their control, and I have allowed greater monsters to walk free because the evidence was insufficient. Yet I sense a deep melancholy in you that suggests these choices exact a price beyond mere guilt. Do you ever wonder if becoming willing to sacrifice everything has made you indistinguishable from the forces you fight?
Every bloody day. But here's what separates me from the monsters. I hate what I've become. They revel in it. When I conned Zatanna into helping me with that Newcastle business, I knew it would destroy what we had. But a little girl was dying, and sometimes you have to choose between good and doing good. Bruce Wayne never had to make that choice. His moral code stays pristine while children burn.
Newcastle, the Casanova incident, Astrolog. I have read the files, sparse though they are. A child damned to hell because of your miscalculation. Yet you continue practicing the same arts that failed you then. That suggests either admirable persistence or dangerous obsession. Which drives you? The hope of redemption, or the inability to accept that some problems have no solutions?
Christ, you really are a detective. Both, probably. I keep thinking I'll find a way to save her, to make it right. But every time I try to help someone, more people end up dead or damned or worse. Maybe I'm just addicted to the attempt, to the idea that this time will be different. How many times have you solved a case only to realize justice and truth are entirely separate concepts?
More often than I care to admit. I once helped convict a man who was technically guilty but morally innocent, while his victim, legally blameless, was a monster who had destroyed countless lives within the bounds of law. The truth was clear, but justice remained elusive. Yet I continue because the alternative, allowing chaos to reign unopposed, seems worse than imperfect order.
We're both addicts then. Addicted to the idea that our actions matter, that we can impose some kind of meaning on a universe designed to crush hope. The funny thing is, I've met cosmic entities that would make Moriarty look like a chair boy, and they all have the same look in their eyes that you get when you're 3 moves ahead of everyone else.
An unsettling comparison, but perhaps apt. I have often wondered if my ability to predict human behavior comes from fundamental coldness in my nature. A capacity to view people as variables in an equation rather than individuals with inherent worth. We share that detachment, don't we? That willingness to use people as means rather than ends.
Maybe that's why we can have this conversation without wanting to throttle each other. Most people either worship us as saviors or fear us as something inhuman, but we both know the truth. We're just broken men who stumbled into roles too big for us and decided to fake it until we made it. The world needs someone willing to make the hard choices, even if it destroys them.
Indeed. And perhaps there is comfort in knowing that somewhere else in this vast, indifferent universe, another man struggles with similar burdens. And we may use different methods and face different enemies, but we are both fundamentally alone with our knowledge of how dark this world truly is. That isolation is its own kind of hell.
The loneliest hell there is. Everyone else gets to believe in happy endings and simple morality. We know better. We know that every victory is temporary. Every saved life is borrowed time, and every choice we make removes us further from the people we used to be. But somebody has to do it, and maybe it's better that it's us. We were already damned anyway.
A remarkably honest assessment. I find myself oddly comforted by speaking with you, Constantine. For years I have wondered if my detachment from normal human emotion was a weakness or a necessity. This conversation suggests it may be both. A wound that becomes a tool, a failing that enables success. Perhaps that defines us both.
We're functional monsters, you and I. Smart enough to see what needs doing, damaged enough to actually do it, and just human enough to hate ourselves for it afterward. The world doesn't need heroes, Holmes. It needs bastards willing to get their hands dirty. Everyone else can sleep peacefully in their beds, never knowing how close they came to waking up in hell.
An elegant summary of our shared condition. I suppose the question becomes, is this burden we bear a noble sacrifice? Or simply the inevitable result of minds that see too clearly and hearts that feel too little? Perhaps the distinction matters less than the recognition that we are not alone in carrying it.
Maybe that's enough. Maybe knowing there's someone else out there who understands the weight of necessary evil is the closest thing to absolution either of us will ever find. We can't save ourselves, we can save others. And if that makes us martyrs or monsters, well, we chose our damnation consciously. That has to count for something.
Indeed. And perhaps that conscious choice is what separates us from those we hunt. Not our methods, not our victories, but our awareness of the cost. We are shepherds of a flock that will never thank us for keeping the wolves at bay. But the flock survives, and in the end, that may have to be enough.